Hi everyone, Dankest Dad here, and for my week 1 hero match this season in THL, my team, The Last Dance, is taking on the Department of League Administration, and it's coming down here to my match against Heatshock. So on my side, I have Death Knight, Druid, Shaman, and Warrior, going into Heatshock's Druid, Paladin, Shaman, and Warrior. So to sort of talk about why I went with these classes, I wanted to bring Death Knight just as a flexible class that can be a deterrent to Highlander strategies. I know that the plagues can be pretty situational in those matchups, and that Death Knight can struggle against Enrage Warrior and a few of the other decks on the ladder in its plague form. But it still is something that I want Heatshock to need to respect in deck building, and maybe pigeonhole him into Enrage Warrior as a dedicated counter, where my Shaman and Warrior classes can really get in there as a counter and win that matchup. So, not knowing which 4 classes Heatshock would bring though, I was pleasantly surprised to see the ones he picked. And without Mage, I think that I have a good option to ban the Paladin and go very greedy with my build. So, the lineup that I opted for actually has, for the most part, Highlander control decks. And we are all Highlander this time. We have the Highlander Control Warrior with Reno Jackson as a potential answer to threats on the other side, as well as just some general value tools. The deck is built to be good against other value decks, which is why Reno is here. This is so that Warrior doesn't get outvalued by something like a Rey Estraza and just lose on the spot. There is this out with Reno to win. I also have Boom Boss Thogran as well for even more additional late game value, and a few nods to Nature Shaman, which I anticipate being the deck on the other side as opposed to Highlander. So Battle-Worn Faceless also is an option here to go over control decks. Gives me a copy effect that can be really useful. Warrior has some redundant board clears that don't see play currently, like Kodohide Drum Kit, that still can be pretty useful in this sort of deck. And I think that with this 40, I have a pretty good shot into these other decks, and even though my removal is a little bit slow for Paladin, I feel pretty confident in my ability to defeat Dragon Druid and Highlander Shaman just by outlasting them with more armor and removal than those decks are used to being able to see on ladder. My Highlander Druid is also XL here. Once again, just trying to go over the top of decks on the other side. This lets me fill out the curve with a little bit more tempo, so I'm not quite as reliant on the ramp game plan. I have stuff like Audio Amplifier, Gold Panner, Trapdoor Spider, just as nods to potential combo, and I'm able to just build out wide while still keeping the powerful top end that Ramp Druid is known for. This Highlander Blood Death Knight is actually a deck that Bunny Hopper made. I've just made a couple quick changes, the most notable being dropping the Flint Firearm for a cover artist. And this deck is just great. I've actually played a lot of ladder with it over the last couple weeks, and I've been pretty happy with how it's performed. The archetype is not so popular, but I think that it has a very good matchup into Enrage Warrior and into Shaman. So I'm eager to give it a try tonight and see how it goes. Last but not least, I have the Highlander Shaman. This build that I have is a bit different than most. I've tweaked my original list slightly, incorporating Framesters to check other potential Highlander decks. And I'm going with a more tempo approach. We have this Pack the House here, which is actually has been a great inclusion for me that I expect more decks to try in the future. I saw that in today's Battle of the Discords tournament, Chewy was actually running this card in his version of the deck, and I think that it's quite nice. Walking Mountain here is to help get me out of range of decks like Dragon Druid and Enrage Warrior while cleaning up some threats. And Queen Ashara gives me that scam potential that everyone loves with the Horn of the Ancients. So, last but not least, I want to talk a little bit about Trusty Companion. So, I know that a lot of decks aren't quite built around this card in the same way that mine is, and I just wanted to point out some of the synergies. Grabbing a card out that matches a particular minion type is so useful. So Flow Rider to School Teacher is the one that we usually see. But I'm also running one Amalgam Band, which is something that can be fetched off a totem, or this Mechanome Guide here that I'm using as forge for my Ignis. Speaking of Ignis, this is the other big tech in the deck. And Ignis is a card that is so good here. Being able to actually get the Ignis weapon is usually better than the Doc Holliday weapon, and still is really good for those big long value games, which are the axis on which I expect Heatshock to try and win this time. So I've gone pretty greedy. I've got some good decks here, and yeah. Only thing I think I might need to tweak here is it seems like the Astalor in my list didn't make it in here somehow. So we'll slide that card in, and other than that, we'll be getting into some games. So yeah, thanks for checking out the pregame, and hope you enjoy the matches. Live here with my Team Hearth League match against Heatshock. On my side, I have the Paladin Band, and on his side, we have the Shaman. So going into it, for these decks, I've got a Control Warrior, we've got Highlander Ramp Druid, some Blood Death Knight, alongside Shaman, but we're not going to see my Shaman because that is Heatshock's ban. So we'll wish our opponent luck, and then we'll start to queue. So, while I normally am a big fan of queuing randomly for Last Hero Standing, that's not the case. Instead of queuing in a random order, I need to queue with the deck in mind that I'm going to play with, because rather than just having to win with all three decks, you need to defeat all of your opponents. So there is a bit of a game to this here. So with my Shaman gone, I need my Warrior in reserve to take on Heatshock's own Warrior. So I'm going to take the lead with Death Knight here. My hope, or rather, I need the Death Knight in reserve, or Warrior in reserve. So I'm going to lead with the Death Knight here and hope to take a sweep through Heatshock's decks. The Death Knight should be a slight favorable into most expected matchups, and I think can do pretty well. Let's get started. All right. So first and foremost, I am going against a Warrior on the other side here. Greedy Partner and Obliterate are a great start against what I expect to be Enrage. Renathal obviously is not. So we'll kick that back, and we'll see what Heatshock is doing on the other side. And if you are showing up, by league rules, this is emote only. So if you have things to say about my play, please reserve your comments for later. I am happy to hear about how poorly I've managed things. All right, so starting off, Heatshock sees my Renathal, leads Sanguine Depths, but no other kept cards. It's pretty decent for me. I can just play my Greedy Partner here and start to ramp up my mana, maybe get this patchwork out a little bit ahead of schedule. Mousing over the coin is interesting. I'm not sure what 3 Heatshock would want to play here. Might be Acolyte of Pain to try and fix this hand. Hollow Hound, pretty decent. I don't really want to give Heatshock more cards, but playing this Treasure Guard I think is a little bit better than my other options. Obliterate basically could -2 here, but I do fall a little bit behind on the board and on my own cards, and it could be better spent on a bigger target. So a bit of a tough decision, but I think that if Heatshock is willing to coin this, his hand can't be that great, so I don't want to give him more options. We'll just take the Obliterate here and hold back on attacking to keep Light of the Phoenix expensive. So thinking about this, still have 2 mulligan cards. Rest of them are a natural draw off the top. I'm guessing since he hasn't ripped it right off, Heatshock doesn't have the Steam Guardian. That would have been probably a snap play. So instead might be getting an Imbued Axe just tempoed onto the board, maybe trying to adjust here, and that's exactly what it is. So Finley's Sea Guide can spin this away, but I think this hand's pretty decent. I'll just go with Mechanome Guide here and grab a Frost Strike, a Heart Strike, or a Blood Boil. I think that in this situation, I am most in for the Frost Strike, since I can go 3-2 and then Coin Patchwork on 6. And since I have Finley in hand and Ignis is nowhere in sight, I am not going to waste tempo forging. I'm just going to develop the 3-4 and get my spell in hand right away, so I can utilize my mana to its best. Okay. Notably here, there is not a minion available here for Heatshock. There's no Anima Extractor. Light of the Phoenix, predictable, does more chip though. And this lets me change my strategy a bit. I can just coin out this Hollow Hound and completely clear this board, which I think is the better play. I could just take this Frost Strike, but I think coining Hollow Hound to get all of this off the board is a little better. Plus I go back up to 35, and this Imbued Axe can't really get good use since it has to clear off this Hound. Right, Steam Guardian comes down, probably gets a Trial by Fire set up, so I'll be careful to play around that. But otherwise, a little bit of a difficult spot. Frost Strike lines up very well. And do that first. And these are terrible. I think Rhyme Sculptor has potential. Frozen Over if I need to fish for a clear, but these are just not the cards I want to see. I'll take Rhyme Sculptor for some value, and we'll just get onto the board. This plays well into Trial by Fire as well, just because all of the little minions don't do a great job of fighting through a Treasure Guard. Crazed Wretch. Jam Session. Okay. So Heatshock says it's time. Interesting. Takes the trade there. I am sure we'll see the hit into my minion here. So with this Vampiric Blood in hand in this cushy position, I'm really not afraid to just rip the Patchwork here. I don't see it going badly for me. So we take out the second Wretch, we take out that one, get an Acolyte out of the deck. Not the best outcome. I'm a little bit scared of an Anima Extractor, but I think that this is about the best I could hope for. clearing off the large minion, no more imbued axe. This is the second champion, and if they have a big scary combo, have the tools in hand and life total to just muscle through it. So we'll see what Heatshock has in store for me, but I don't think that taking that 50-50 was a bad choice. Hey Tab, how's it going? All right. So, focusing in back here. Seems like Heatshock is a bit in the tank. I am above the max life total. I have the edge on the board. And Heatshock has lost his charge minions. And if he's not playing the Grom version of the deck, he's not going to have a lot of reach left at all. All right, and we take game one. So, last hero is standing. I am stuck on this Death Knight for now, and I'll be continuing in. Well, Heatshock decides which deck is going to come next. Well, that matchwork won. That may have won the series. I don't think he's wrong, but yeah, that was pretty brutal. But yeah. So we've got the Druid up here. These aren't really minions I'm interested in having. Well, I had 39 health. So, you know what? I hope the stream appreciates it. Well, I was hitting a charger either way. So we see here the Druid. I get to play Armor Vendor. Alrighty. So, start off with that is pretty good for Heatshock, but I will just play the Gold Panner and start chipping away. That is the card I want, so very happy to see that. Snapdragon, so this is the Dragon Druid, and I will get to keep panning. Soul Stealer, another card I really want to see. And we'll take this out, and I can hit there, and continue cycling through the deck. Looks like it might be another Coin Hollow Hound game, but can't be sure as of yet. Groovy Cat. And now there's that big hero power. That could pose a bit of an issue later, but I can keep an eye on my life total, and hopefully it isn't the worst thing. That's Teacher, Icy Touch, Heart Strike, and Blood Tap. I'm not afraid to take a Heart Strike into hand here on my guy. And then I think because I have these other cards, this is a decent enough coin that I can take this clear. Ramp up my corpses for Explosion. Next turn I can make a play for the Ghost Rider. Don't want to ever spin this, but can also go Watcher. I have some flexibility. That's a little spooky. So I will certainly be holding the Explosion back. ETC can grab another Soul Stealer. I think that's reasonable. Yeah, I think it is Soul Stealer for sure. And then we are just going in, and I can sit with this hand. So the scariest play here is if they have the Dragon Golem and they're able to play 2 in a row. Okay, Hollow Hounds can bail me out of this jam for sure. So they have their Dragon Golems, they have their Malagos, they have their Fi. They have their 4 damage hero power, which is quite fair and balanced. Thank you, Mr. Blizzard. Hollow Hound isn't really the best in this spot. I think no Muncher is reasonable, but just flooding the board with my other minions is also not the worst since I'm not in danger of dying. So I will do it this way. And let Heatshock go. One of the things I love about Blood Death Knight is the ability to take these passive development turns. And not every board is must clear. Using your minions as removal can be quite good. And like this turn was great for me. So there's a Vizier. So what I can do here is I can send Pozic into this. And this here. And send this in. And I can take a Corpse Explosion while still getting a buffed weapon from this card to clear wave after my Soul Stealers. Interesting. I think I just want Might of Menethil to force more board tension when I need it and push some damage, but we'll see how Heatshock elects to do this. I'm likely going to need to play Soul Stealer every turn because this 4 damage hero power is going to be such a pain. But I have Hollow Hound, I have Double Stealer. Not an impossible spot. Malagos right away. Great. So that is not a card I am totally scared of. So we'll see some Innervates, some Gardens. Yep. So these are going to be some big dragons here. Coming up in just a second, but that Zola is pretty good. I can just take a No Muncher, send a minion into this, let the Muncher get my health up. And yeah, now we'll see what Heatshock has got. We'll just continue to force him to develop. Going to play very safely with my clears. Another Snapdragon. Aquatic Form. Going to grab that Garden for sure. Or not. Might be an Amber Drake that might be the play here. Or Amber Whelp, excuse me. Aquatic Form again. Interesting, just going for 1 Garden. Might be that Heatshock is only playing the singular copy. Can't be sure. Alright. We see Garden first. Yep. So down comes the Garden. Matron. And Amber Whelp. So down come the dragons, and I can make the Soul Stealer play pretty freely. There's Ignis, not turned on, but Soul Stealer will do the job. Take to the skies. There's Dragon Golem, which is a little bit of an issue given how big those are. So I could be forced to play the second Stealer here. I can't quite guarantee my survival any other way. I can also make some taunts, but I don't think that really does the job. It just constrains the mana a little too awkwardly. So I think here I am willing to just go Stealer and then forge this. So I have about a 50-50 to get Reno if I want to go for it. They're a little larger. So now the question is, do I go for a clear or try to play for Reno? I think given what's in my deck, playing for Reno seems a little bit more reliable. I can freeze 3, use Hollow Hound to gain 9. So if I do that, I can clear 1. He's representing 12 damage. If he's able to do the last Gardens combo, which he shouldn't be able to, we'll say that he has 6 + 6 + 4 + 3. I do always survive if I make that play, but it doesn't get me there in the way that I need to. I think going for Reno's better. And of course, there's Mr. Jackson. And we'll elect to discover a spell. And I will take a Frozen Over. Looking good. Tough spot now for Mr. Shock. But still making plays. Time Lost Proto Drake means he's never really out of it. And I think removing this minion is pretty good. But we can go Greedy Partner, make the removal, develop a taunt, and start pushing some damage while armoring up. So, what else do we got here? Hey Azalea, how's it going? Discovering some beasts. Alright. Five, of course. Obliterate there is nice into the Phi. But so is Cover Artist. Primus would be a pretty sick draw. I do know it's coming soon. So yeah, I can take this Vampiric Blood, I think. There is my good buddy, Mr. Patchwork. I can just remove this. Ping down this minion. And then... I don't think there's any reason not to. Just coin Patchwork and take this out. So, remove a Proto Drake. And we're sitting at 19. Pretty safe life total for now. A ton Heatshock can do about this. Maybe this is Astalor for him. He should still have the one in his stack. So that is threatening. Trapdoor Spider. Yeah, I'm fine with this. And that hero power is going to be the death of me. Amber Watcher. Sure. Not a minion that scares me. So this is a pretty safe Blood Boil. You can just clean up this way. And then I think I'm willing to just go for this Frozen Over. Grab Primus. Can swap this. There's Mr. Astalor. And I can just hero power. And put the pressure on. Not surprising there. Trapdoor. And that is all well and good. Okay. So I think we can just go Dirty Rat here. And what was this created by? Frozen Over, so probably Astalor. I think in this case I can just go for the Primus. And that will do it. I think that the Glacial Shard might have been a little bit better there, but I wanted to pull out that Dragon in case it was something with Reach. I felt like it was a better play. So with that, we go to game 3. Heatshock has one deck left to try and get through all the smoke, and it is Shaman. Patchwork's not a card I'm opposed to. I would keep it in my mulligan. Let's go looking. We find no Muncher. Little awkward of a hand, but I do think I can make this work. Full mull on the Shaman side. Can't be upset about that. Corpse Explosion. Nice swing back with this sort of start. I'm going to have plenty of corpses to use. Would love to find a 2 or 3 to fill up my curve, but no real complaints once again. I'm perfectly happy with this sort of start. Viper, perfect. And yeah, I think there is reason to remove this. Go up to 3. Forge, totally fine. I'm just going to hold this for Holiday. I don't really have any need to rush. I have multiple board clears. I've got a good corpse count. This is seeming like a good spot. And that is spicy. Wow, okay. Hematurge, good card to have here. Maybe find an Obliterate or some way to slow this down. Asphyxiate and a Vicious Bloodworm. Yeah, I'll just take a Bloodworm. Just develop. Would have been nice if that hit the Muncher, but still a pretty solid situation. And it's the Doctor. And this is where it's nice to have a rubber band for a life total. So Corpse Explosion can be pretty nice here, as can Blood Boil. Viper also is just decent. I think I can afford to take the chip. But yeah, this is just a little bit better here. So we'll take care of that. And we'll see how Heatshock chooses to respond. This is a little awkward. I'm pretty priced into Corpse Explosion next turn, and going down to 19 is not ideal. But yeah, Astalor, sure. Okay. Greedy play here is to go for the Gnome Muncher. Given that use of resources, I don't hate it, but I'm just going to Corpse Explosion this away. Yep, Command of Neptulon. And now we just can make the Patchwork play here, or the Blood Boil Trapdoor Spider play. Try and punish something like a Golganath. Boil Spider doesn't seem awful. Patchwork is probably not getting better though. We send him. We miss on Astalor. We get Viper and Flow Rider. Seems fine though. Might have a Golganath here. Yep. And we'll try and deal 20, perhaps. Tough turn. I think I just want to Blood Boil here. This feels like setting up the weapon. So if I Blood Boil here, go up to 17, they can hit me there for 5, hit me there for 3 more, I'm living. No Muncher accomplishes something similar but dies to the Golganath, so I would rather do it this way. So we go up to 17, we're very much alive here. You can grab a Vampiric Blood off of this to stick around a little bit longer, or a second Blood Boil. Criminal lineup. Wow, I'm just dead. Wait. Did Heatshock miss lethal? Or does he just have it in hand? I think he missed lethal. I think he was tilting. That's... yeah, just unfortunate there. So we get to just kind of clean up now with the Blood Boil. And ironically, but this keeps them alive for more blood boiling. So their first spell is essentially free every turn. That's funny. Astalor. So it's still not super easy. I'm not in the greatest spot. Vendor is a nice pickup. We can start with Teacher, though. Fistful of Corpses, pretty nice.
Pick me.
So I will be going back to full here. I want to, I think, just armor up as much as possible and go as wide as I can. So I take 20, go down to 14. If he has the clear plus the Astalor, I still lose, but that Golganeth was absolutely brutal. Or no, 19. Tumbleweed, clear that off, and then Astalor to bring my total low. Pretty perfect draw there for Heatshock. I might still be able to get out, but it's not going to be an easy one. Rat can be enough if he has a small minion. I don't think I have another option. I can look for Corpse Explosion, but that seems losing, so... Can develop this. And I can at least put some damage on one of the minions here. We can eat that. Go to 10. And that's not that is lethal often. But if this does something bad... Nope. Heatshock is all set. No worries, though. That's not a game I'm meant to win with that kind of draw, and not finding Reno there was pretty rough for me. Alrighty. So, going into the Shaman, the question is, do I want to bring my Control Warrior here or my Druid? I think I like the Druid's chances a little bit better. I think just having seen how the ramp has played out, that seems more like the deck that I want to be on for this match. Okay. These cards aren't really playable. Prince Renathal is even more unplayable, but that is Reno. So we'll see if they find their stuff or if I'm going to be doing all right in this spot. Take to the skies. Not unwelcome. Would love to see Gold Panner. That's not a start that I'm happy with as the Druid. And Heatshock doesn't know about these cover artists currently, so might have some room to maneuver here. And like he really wants to go fish 1, 2, 3. Shockhopper takes the slow line. Okay, I am probably gonna just take to the skies then, unless we have a really interesting draw. ANR. Taking out that fish does save me some health. Renathal also is pretty decent. And I think I am just forced to slam this. Dragons, though, are on average pretty helpful. Yeah, I think we just go for the Renathal. Little unfortunate. Just not the draw I wanted off this mulligan. Be expected there, and we eat the 3, which is just amazing. That's a good draw. And just go Disciple here. And if I am a real gamer, I will draw this Drum Circle off of Summer Flower Child, and that'll be that. So, again, Doc Holliday on curve. I'm not the only gamer here. But thankfully for me, the staff is a slow card. Topior, whatever. Yogg Saron for 8. And Prison for 6. Cool. I know what I'm doing next turn. Backstage. Splish Splash Whelp. That is a little better. I will need to make that play instead so I can get to Reno. And then we will draw some dragons. And there's Phi, who is good to have in the back. And if we see the Framester, then I have Yogg instead. So we can Reno that away. Crusader Aura. That's a card. Embrace of Nature. Not super interesting at the moment. Bit of a tricky one. I think I am not in danger of dying here, but I do want to clear this minion off. So we can take this out. I can forge, and then I will draw my card. It's just Nourish. Okay. And I think next turn is probably the play for A&R, and I may just heal back to full and go for the value game. Neptulon, of course. Dragon Golem. That is a couple dragons there. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 dragons. So 5 goes to 3 mana and is playable. I have seen worse things to do. This also is not a bad Yogg Saron. A little bit tricky. And I really do need to respect this Reno. Crusader's Aura is such a pain, but it does work with Yogg, importantly, so... this will do what I need it to. So Yogg deals with that. And importantly does stick around, so a little bit difficult now for Heatshock to deal with this. Tricky turn. Could have his own Yogg, but is overloaded. May need Reno, may need the Horn to chew through it. Flow Rider for an answer. Why not? Turn the tides here, maybe, to deal with Yogg. Solar Eclipse. Not really the card I need right now. Now this Reno could be pretty brutal if they have it. A&R for mana, not the best. It could just be A&R for health to try and stabilize, which is what I think I will do. So this does kind of prompt a Yogg into taking A&R here. So they grab my Yogg. Alibi. They'll grab A&R here. Fireball. Takes out one of the Yoggs. And Ignis Weapon? Or is he going to let these frogs ride? He's going to let the frogs ride. Okay. Now, unfortunately for me, that was decidedly unfortunate. All right. What's my out here?
It's so crazy. Just like what do I do with all these cards?
Okay. Thaddeus is on odd, so I can't really accomplish a ton with that here.
This one's a tribute.
Okay, so I can at least Bluff staying alive a little longer. I don't think that's going to be sufficient to deal with this, though. See if he finds the Bloodlust or any easy answer. Turn the tides, and that will do it. All right, we'll be going to game 5. A little bit unfortunate there. Didn't find the ramp I was hoping for, and the early Dr. Holiday is just tough to beat. Not a great card off turn 5, but early enough can be pretty good. All right, now we have Warrior. So this is not a warrior that, you know, is in rage. We've got the control tools.
Only death is colder than the depths.
So we're cooking here. And I think that we have a pretty good shot here against the Shaman. I would hope that Druid would be the deck to get through there, but just did not find my ramp, and he found his Holiday and Command of Neptune on curve. Tough to beat. We got a Forge here. All right, there's the Schooling. Heavy Plate. Okay, looks like he may have his Giant again. We can trade our plate, Burrow Buster, and I can just get this Astalor developed. Alright, now we're cooking here. Yep. Of course. And hopefully here I can find a way to deal with that. Call to the stand, bash numbers. Hey, look at that. Bash. So he kept a single card in the mulligan. Gee, I wonder what it could be. It was Coin Dr. Holiday. What a surprise. There's a heavy plate. But I do have this Burrow Buster here. And I can remove Dr. Holiday and start to apply a little counter pressure. Piranha Swarmer, sure. And here comes the Frog Staff. There's my own Ignis. I can go Khaz'goroth then. And while I would love a weapon, since I have this Ignis, I am going to get big. Command of Neptune. Man, Heatshock is a professional here at drawing the good cards on curve. I thought that was my plan. Armor Vendor, another good card to pair up. I can just go looking here. And I can just develop. I will here grab a 10 Wind Fury, and I'll be gaining some armor. Turn the tide. Yep. Okay. heavy plate, which I can do to sanitize this board away. But I think instead I will develop a Thogren. And it's not going to get any easier, and taking random cards out of my opponent's deck seems good. I don't think I'm going to need Reno anytime soon either with all these board clears, so I am not afraid to shuffle in my TNTs and get digging. Plus, Dirty Secret, I can just play Reno for the upgraded hero power and the 5 armor sometimes. Jeez Louise. Well, I am going to gain some armor. But I have dealt with that board at least. Glug! You totally glugged me. There is Salam. Mm-hmm. Interesting. How do I best challenge this? Developing my weapon and gaining a lot of armor seems good. Developing Yogg also seems pretty good. Cycle this, draw a card. And Yogg does its thing once again. What a strange game. Ugh, I do not know. Well, this one has gone the way it has, but... Turn the tides? Sure, we can deal with Yogg, I guess. Ramster? Sure. Pretty good box. So what did I destroy there? Horn of the Windlord. That's a good one to get rid of. Let's do that. And using the canary here to get a... Can bounce that frog. Oh, we've dealt with the bait and switch. Got the next frog. And there's Trial by Fire, which I can hold on to for a little bit. Can armor up, pump our drum kit. And to say this is going fairly decently. That's frustrating. Okay. We take that. Framed. Billowing flames. It's 12, not the right number. 1, 2, 3. Ignis weapon here seems as good as anything. Okay then.
Yeah, let's go.
Well, I think that'll do it. I think my goose is cooked because he hit that. One of those games. Just he had the stuff on curve, and that's Reno for you. Are there any out here? I don't believe so. Okay. I can gain up to 8.
Our gift of frost shields us.
But hey, you know, that's what happens. It was a good game. Honestly, not too much to be done there. I think I'm pretty favored in this matchup from my testing, but hey, you know, it happens sometimes. GG's and well played, and we'll be moving on to week 2. But anyway, yeah, I don't think I let the tilt get to me. I think I played all the games pretty well, and I think I made good decisions, so ultimately, you know, yeah, Yogg carries sometimes. And that's that. The Shaman just was able to get there every game, and not much I could do. All right. Well, thanks for watching, everybody, and have a good rest of your night. I will see y'all next time.